What is going on, YouTube? This is your boy Sutton Def from the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be reacting to episode 4 of HBO Hard Knocks AFC North Edition. Stay tuned. Yes. So like I said, my name is Sutton Def. Welcome into the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. If this is your first time listening, again, hello, welcome. My name is Sutton Def from the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. I have a co-host. His name is Simply AS10. He's not with me today, but we'll be going live tomorrow, I believe it is. Happy New Year, by the way. Happy New Year. Today is January 1. January 2 is going to be Thursday. We will be going talking our Ravens tomorrow. But today, I'm here to talk about the AFC North Hard Knocks produced by HBO, episode 4. I want to react to that live here on the channel. So if you're in here watching live, thank you so much for joining. Make sure you sound off in the chat room. If you're watching the replay of this episode, make sure you sound off in the comment section down below, because I love to hear from you guys after the fact. You guys know that. And of course, you can follow me on Instagram or Sutton Def, like you see right there down below. And then also on Instagram, we do have an Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast, as a lot of you guys know. And then our sponsor, Manscaped. You guys see how clean I'm looking right now. Fresh fade, all that, beard, all that. You feel me? You can go on manscaped.com, get yourself looking nice and clean. You can get 20% off. You can get 20% off your order as well if you use our code PRP at checkout. You're also going to get free international shipping with that. So just a little tidbit there of information. We got Darlene in the house. What's going on, Darlene? She says, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well, Darlene. Appreciate you for coming through. Again, make sure you sound off in the chat room if you are here and live checking in with me here. So AFC Hard Knocks take no breaks. AFC North Hard Knocks, that is. They take no breaks, right? They were right back at it with another episode that released last at 9 p.m. Up to this over at HBO, doing a phenomenal job covering this division. Okay, let's get into a few notes here. Let's get into a few notes that I had about the episode of Hard Knocks. First things first, I think that HBO is intentionally covering the Ravens a lot more than they were in the first 2 episodes. I will definitely say that. I did not react to episode 3. Main reason being because episode 3 came out on a Tuesday night, and immediately following that was Christmas on Wednesday. That Wednesday, and the Ravens played against the Texans. So whatever I said in an episode 3 reaction would have been irrelevant after 2 hours of me posting the video, a couple hours. So it felt pointless. But episode 4 is here. The Ravens do not play until Saturday. Of course, they play at 4:30 p.m., I want to say Eastern time, against the Cleveland Browns. They will close their season there in Baltimore. Gotta win that game. Gotta get that one, right? It's for the division. Literally, we are playing the Cleveland Browns for the division. And of course, the Browns don't have anything to play for, but they're going to want to play spoiler. They do not want to see us win the division on their account. So we got to win that one. Of course, the starters are going to play, and we will see how that one transpires. But listen, a few notes from the episode. And let me know if you watched the AFC North Hard Knocks episode 4. Let me know what you thought about it in the chat section down below. So one thing that I did take down, I wrote down Todd Monken, a very solid leader. Todd Monken was featured a lot early on in the episode, on episode 4. And he said he was speaking to the team in a way that was very head coach-esque, right? And it kind of got me thinking, right? And I'm thinking right now, Todd Monken could potentially be poached from the Ravens. I'm not going to say off season, but it is very possible that there is another team that swoops in and picks him up and wants to pick him up as, their head coach. I see it. This guy is a proven winner, right? Of course, he spent some time in Jacksonville. He actually talked about this episode years ago. He was in Jacksonville. They went 11-5 one year. He took for granted how good they were that year. And then the next year they went 5-11. So he was kind of making a speech about, you can't take this shit for granted in the NFL. Like it literally NFL stands for not for long, right? Like you cannot take it for granted. You got to cherish what you have. You have to work your butt off in order to get to that championship, because, tomorrow's not promised. Next season is not promised. Something that he's preaching to the guys. And I really, really liked a lot of the things that he was saying in that, and in those sentiments on the episode. So one thing I took away, Todd Monken is a great leader. I think that his time here in Baltimore is going to be very, very, how do I say, limited, right? I just think that, if the Ravens were to go out there and win a Super Bowl this season, I don't see Todd Monken being an offensive coordinator for this team next season. And that might be a little bit of a hot take. Maybe it might be a little bit warm. Nobody's really talking about that right now, Todd Monken, and the potential for him to kind of get poached from the Ravens. But this is a guy who, of course, has experience in the NFL. He's killing it right now with Lamar Jackson in this Ravens offense. Of course, he killed it at Georgia. Not state championships. This is not high school. National championships, right? The guy's been phenomenal. He's been really, really good as an offensive coordinator, drawing up offenses for the past couple of seasons. So don't be surprised. Do not be surprised if Todd Monken is not on this team in years to come. Okay. But yeah, that was take one. Todd Monken, he was really, really kind of looking like a head coach, talking to the guys, and they were locked in. They were listening to what he had to say. They were very engaged. Also, John Harbaugh, and this is my second take here. John Harbaugh actually, he had a good showing as well. Like, he had a good showing in terms of leadership, things like that. They were having a team meeting, and his whole thing was BYE, right? And a lot of people just default to saying that, BYOE, it means bring your own energy, which it does, for sure, 100%. But Harb took it a step further. He actually took it like 3 or 4 steps further. He said, not only is it bring your own energy, but it's bring your own execution, right? Bring your own effort, bring your own excellence to the game. And of course, bring your own energy. And I really liked, that statement from John Harbaugh. A lot of guys there, everybody in there really was, locked into what he had to say. And it was a complete turnaround from episode 1 of AFC North Hard Knocks. And of course, in the first couple of episodes, we were coming off of that Eagles loss, right? So the vibes weren't nearly as high as they are right now in the locker room, in the castle overall in general. But I will say that the guys were really, really engaged with what Harbaugh had to say. And I really did like the message. His message did ring through. And I think it got through to the guys. Let me see. Taquan is in the house. What's going on, Taquan? Says, Happy New Year and hope you're having a good day, son. Having an excellent day. It was a little bit of a long night. I'm not going to lie. A little bit of a long night. I didn't even wake up until maybe 10, 11 o'clock morning. It was a long night. But Happy New Year to you as well, brother. I appreciate you for coming through as always. Always showing support here at the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. But listen, yeah, John Harbaugh, he is looking like, I don't want to say because listen, the other episode when I was talking about John Harbaugh, I was kind of mentioning, alluding to the fact that has he lost locker a little bit, and that's what it really felt like for those first couple of episodes. Guys weren't really locked in. They weren't really paying attention as much as I feel like they should have been. They kind of looked dejected, right? They kind of looked uninterested in what Harbaugh had to say. But in this one, they were locked in. Of course, now things change when you're winning, but they were locked in, and I was really happy to see that. I was really, really happy to see that. A couple more takes. This sort of Hard Knocks, of course, is coming on a Tuesday after the Week 17 games. Obviously, the Ravens, Christmas, they covered that game in that one, and the vibes, of course, very, very high on the sideline, and not so much in the stands in Houston. And I was there, and I can attest to it. The people in Houston, the Texans fans, they were not happy that the Ravens came to town and walked all over them on Christmas Day and really spoiled their Christmas for them. Third take. So there was an emphasis on how well conditioned the Ravens were during their 3 games and 11-day stretch. There's a big emphasis on that. And first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to the strength and conditioning coaches, Ron and Scott. They've done a phenomenal job getting these guys prepared and ready to go. There was a scene where John Harbaugh was, talking to the performance evaluator for the Ravens during practice, and the performance evaluator was saying, hey, look at these, because all the players during practice, they wear I guess these chips or whatnot inside their equipment that can track their movement and their speed and things like that, and kind of measure the analytics of it all after the fact, and kind of see who's performing well, who's flying around the field, things like that. And, the numbers were looking really, really good, especially for a team playing 3 games in 11 days. That Giants game, the Steelers game, and then, of course, the Texans game Christmas Day. And what we were watching in this episode was the time between the Steelers game and the Texans game on Christmas. And there was a scene where Rashad Bateman, he was flying around, running routes in practice and whatnot. And John Harbaugh comes up to him and he says, "Hey, look, man, like, you look really, really good out there. You look fast. You look fresh." And Rashad Bateman said back to John Harbaugh, like, "Yeah, I feel fresh. Like, I feel fast." Like, and so I just got to tip my cap. I tip my cap to the strength and conditioning coaches in the Baltimore Ravens organization, because to have those guys play that many games in such a short stretch is just absolutely insane. It's insane, man. And there were a couple of other guys who talked about from the other teams in the AFC North. There were not the other teams, but the Steelers, right? Because the Steelers were the only ones who also had the three game and 11-day stretch. They were saying that I know TJ Watt said, it sucks, but basically there's other people going through it as well. So who am I to complain? And that's a typical TJ Watt, very stoic answer. And then you also had Najee Harris. Najee Harris also came out and said, "Hey, look, I've never done this before. I've never, in football career, I have never played this many games in such a short stretch, a short span of time." Team Ramey in the house. Good and happy New Year. Happy New Year, Ramey. Sean Cole says, "Up, happy New Year's." What's going on, Sean? Says, "Can I ask a question before a bunch of people come?" Of course, man. Shoot away. Let me know. Deshaun is in the house as well. What's going on, Deshaun? Happy New Year to you as well, brother. Appreciate you for coming through. But yeah, I loved what I saw. Loved what I saw from the Ravens moving around really well. Vibes were high. Of course, this team is not very hurt right now. We're still relatively healthy, I would say, which is a blessing. Going into week 18 and then down the stretch of the playoffs and everything like that, we're going to need all hands on deck. We're going to need all hands on deck. And it looks like they are right now. So that's fabulous news. But moving right along here. There was also a scene where the linebackers, and a lot of you guys probably know this. I think they've kind of hinted at this, show the Ravens Wired episodes in times past. The Ravens linebackers, they have a thing where they play Jeopardy, right? In their team meetings, right? With the linebacker meetings, they play Jeopardy, and they basically quiz themselves on the coming game, right? To see who knows what about what. And I thought that was a very cool moment to kind of, see HBO really took us behind the curtain on that one. You saw Roquan Smith, Trenton Simpson, of course, Chris Board, guys like that, Malik Harrison in there, really all chopping it up and having fun with that. And it was productive, very, very productive. Not really that's not huge news, right? That's not huge news, but that is something I feel like is good for our linebacker room, especially with Roquan Smith leading it. Trenton Simpson is a guy who we thought was going to step up and kind of be the guy instead of Patrick Queen after he went to the Steelers, but he really hasn't. But Chris Board stepped up. So hopefully those guys can continue to kind of gel and mesh together. And by the time the playoffs come, we're shutting down everything in the run. Especially the run is where I'm mainly concerned. I'm focused because as it stands right now, we're either going to be playing J.K. Dobbins in the Chargers, Joe Mixon in the Texans, or Najee Harris in the Steelers in the wild card round. That's right. Those three teams, we are locked in to playing one of those three teams in the wild card round of playoff. So all those teams can run the football. We got to be able to stop it, and I think our linebackers are going to be a very big part of that. Let me see. Sean says, "Was it at all weird that only black quarterbacks were playing on Christmas? I just kind of realized that, not making any conspiracy or anything." Honestly, Sean, I think that has more to do with the fact that the league is kind of changing, right? League is changing. If you look at, the landscape of the league right now, and specifically zero in on quarterbacks, demand for mobile quarterbacks who tend to be black guys. I'm just putting that out there, right? With the exceptions of guys, of course, like Josh Allen and a few others. Bo Nix is another one who's kind of mobile as well in his own regard. But, a lot of these guys, are black. Okay, I mean, I just say it how it is. And I don't think it was necessarily like a anything planned or anything like that. I think it was really just a coincidence. You got Patrick Mahomes, you got Russell Wilson, you got um, Lamar Jackson and CJ Stroud who played on Christmas Day. I didn't really make too much of it, to be honest with you. And like I said, league is just changing. The league is just changing. And you're seeing more black come into the league now and playing quarterback, and people really accepting that because that's where the league is going. You have to be mobile. You have to be able to get out of the pocket. You have to be able to extend plays. If you're not running the football on top of being able to pass the football, you're a little bit of a liability. Statue quarterbacks are kind of going extinct a little bit, I would say. Even like your statue quarterbacks that you would think are statues, like guys like Joe Burrow, have very, very underrated escapability and mobility, right? So, that's just where the league is going, bro. That's just where the league is going. Let me see. E Money says first time catching the stream. Let's go Ravens. What's going on, E Money? Appreciate you for coming through. Appreciate you for catching the stream. Welcome to the Portrayed Podcast YouTube channel. Thank you for catching the live for sure. Make sure you like the video. Like the video, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here. Me and Alex would greatly, greatly appreciate that. By the way, real quick side note here. You guys see my little snowball mic that I got right here. I've been using this for the past couple of weeks now. I got a new mic coming. Okay. Hopefully I sound a lot better on that mic than I do with this one. I think I sound okay on this one, but I know there's like a little bit of glitchiness and everything like that. I actually got this mic years ago. Fun fact, I got this mic probably like you guys are gonna go crazy with it. 2012, say like 2012, 2013 is around the time that I got this mic. I want to say it was 2012 when I started my first YouTube channel. First one, probably like my second or third one in 2012. It was a gaming channel, and then I'm going on a little rant here, a little sidebar tidbit, but new mic. I'm getting a new mic. I promise, guys. I promise. Don, what's going on, Don? Don is in the house. Happy New Year, brother. Appreciate you for coming through, Don. Says, what's up? Happy New Year. I didn't even realize that. Why you starting stuff, Sean? Sean says, I just think we could have a conversation sometimes, and it often gets avoided while the money keeps rolling in. I could promise you that Roger Goodell was aware of it. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't think so. I don't think so, Sean. It just is what it is. I think the league is evolving, right? And there's a higher demand now for mobile quarterbacks. And historically, black guys are more mobile. I mean, it just is what it is. Let's call a spade, right? Let's call a spade. I just think that that's where the demand is going. Of course, you have some unicorns who can come in and don't have to run, and they can literally do it all with their arm and, their brain, just kind of being a cerebral quarterback thing, that methodically moving down the field. That's what Tom Brady was. Now, with Tom Brady, I think a good question for us to ask is, would a Tom Brady archetype of quarterback work in today's league? And you might just automatically default to saying, well, duh, of course he can. He won the Super Bowl not even 5 years ago. But let's say 10 years from now, 5-10 years from now, let's fast forward just a little bit down the line. Will a statue quarterback who's able to kind of dissect defenses and just throw it all over the yard, will that still work as defensive players are bigger, faster, stronger? It's things are a little different now. So no, again, I don't really think that it has a I don't really think it has I don't think it was intentional. Okay. But yeah. Very interesting though that you brought that up. Thank you for bringing that up. Let's go ahead and move on here. Let me see what else I had from this Hard Knock episode. George Pickens. I did watch the Steelers segment of the show. I watched the whole show, of course. But George Pickens in that game against the Chiefs. A lot of people gave him criticism, but listen, that's the best offensive player that the Steelers have. It's not Russell Wilson. It's not Najee Harris. It's not Pat Freiermuth. It's not this guy, that. It's George Pickens. Okay. And I'm still, to this day, kind of upset, a little bit salty that the Ravens drafted David Ojabo over George Pickens. A little bit salty, right? I remember, I can remember this was a couple years ago, and Alex made a video kind of like impromptu after we drafted Ojabo. And I think Alex was in the same boat. Simply AS10 was in the same as me, saying that, the Ojabo pick is cool, but George Pickens was right there, you know. Yeah. So Pickens is the best player on the Steelers offense. That's one thing that, I kind of took away from that game on Christmas. And the Steelers also seem a little bit deflated right now. And dare I say, the Steelers peaked a little bit too early. They peaked a little too early. They were flying very, very high in the middle of the season around that time of the year. And now it seems like the wheels are kind of falling off a little bit. They've lost, 3 straight? And they do not look good on the sideline in the team meetings. They don't look as locked in as they were before. And again, winning and losing really, really impacts a locker room. But I still do like what I hear from Mike Tomlin. And I have some Steelers fans. I have this one Steelers fan friend who is really kind of against Mike Tomlin. His name is D-Will. Shout out to D-Will if he's watching right now. But he's always saying like he wishes that the Steelers could have gotten rid of Mike Tomlin years ago. And it's kind of for the same reasons that we kind of, have something against John Harbaugh. I think the match is getting stale, things like that. But to me, from the outside looking in, Mike Tomlin is a hell of a coach, man. He's a hell of a coach. I think that he makes do with what he's got. And right now, the defense is not playing up to snuff. They're just not. They're not performing the way that Steelers defense is accustomed to performing, or at least I'm accustomed to seeing a Steelers defense performing. And there's guys in the locker room who are calling each other out. Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick is back there as well. It's just I don't really know what to expect from the Steelers going forward. Of course, they have their final game this week against the Bengals, and they're playing for the division. If we win, because we play before them on Saturday, if we win, we win the division. We locked it up. And the Steelers really don't have too much to play for in that game against the Bengals. Of course, the Bengals have everything to play for because they have to win. Top of Denver has to lose, and a bunch of other stuff. And by the way, the Chiefs are not playing their starters against Denver. Patrick Mahomes is not playing. It will be Carson out there against the Denver Broncos on Sunday. So, Bengals playoff chance. I'm going to get to them in a second, but the Steelers right now, they really seem like they are stumbling, for lack of better words, into the playoffs, and we'll see how they perform in the wild card. And a wounded Steelers, like, would I want a wounded Steelers team in the wild card round? Yes, I would. I actually said this the other day on the live show with Alex. I said, if there was one team that I would play in the wild card round, it's the Steelers. Because even though the Ravens just won their matchup with them the other week, past 10 matchups were like 10, something like that. It's bad. 2-8 is bad. So I think a great start for the playoffs Ravens to welcome the Steelers back to Baltimore, kick their ass again, send them home packing, and really kind of put a stamp on that rivalry. Yeah, the Ravens are back up. Put the word out there that we back up, right? Let me see here. Let's see what we got. What else I had here? My notes from the show. Oh, also, of course, the Steelers played the Chiefs on Christmas, and the Chiefs, they just seem so steady, man. They're so steady. That's the team that really scares me the most out of everybody. It's not the Bills. It's not the Steelers. It's not, the Texans, the Chargers, the Broncos. It's the Chiefs, man. The 2-time back-to-back champions. I've been saying this all season long. They literally look like they're in energy conservation mode right now. Energy conservation mode. They win all their games by one possession. They do exactly what they need to do, just enough to squeak out wins, man. And of course, they know how to win in the playoffs. They know how to turn it up when the postseason comes around. They're going to get that first round bye. They already have the first seed locked up. And, if they make it to the AFC Championship again, if they win their divisional matchup, that game will be played in Arrowhead. So if our Ravens make it to the AFC Championship game again and they meet Kansas City for the second year in a row in the AFC Championship game, they're not going to be playing in Baltimore like they were last year. We had that privilege last year. And we squandered it. But this year is gonna be in Arrowhead. And KP says here, I see you seeing in the chat, the Chiefs about to three-peat, unfortunately. Yeah. That I mean, again, they look primed to do it. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. Even as a Ravens fan, they look primed and ready to go out and win them another ring. They do. But our Ravens can't care about that. We can't care about that. We have to do what we need to do. If it means going into Arrowhead and taking the Chiefs lunch money, we're gonna do that. Okay. And I feel like this is a little bit with the Ravens because I feel like the Ravens are fed up. All the talk. I think the season starts next week. I'll say that. I think the season starts next week when it comes to this Ravens team. Do have a super chat donation. This one's coming from Don. Appreciate you, Don, for dropping the piece in the chat, making it rain here on this episode of the Purple Rain podcast. Happy New Year, Don. He says, Happy New Year, Sutton and Alex. When you watch the replay, I think the Ravens get over the hump. Lamar Jackson is different this year. This is a good point from Don. Like I just said, the Ravens, I think, are fed up right now. They're fed up with all the talk. They're fed up with all the, the Ravens and Lamar Jackson perform so well in the regular season, but when the playoffs roll around, it's a totally different story. I think that the Ravens are fed up right now. I think Lamar Jackson is fed up. And like I said, right before you mentioned this, Don, I think the season starts next week. The season starts next week for this team. And thank our heavenly stars that this team is healthy right now. I really do feel like this team is peaking. Like I've mentioned all along, it feels like we've been playing whack-a-mole. You guys know that game, whack-a-mole, where you whack one mole down and then another problem pops up, another mole pops up. That's what either the offense was performing and the defense was bad, or vice versa. And then we even had a stint where special teams was terrible, But right now, and that Christmas game really did solidify it. Every side of the football is playing his best ball right now. If we can carry the same momentum into the playoffs, I think that is going to that's going to put us over the top. It's going to get us hump, like my guy Don says. Thank you, Don, again for the super chat donation. I really, really do appreciate you. A very valued member of this Rain Gang community. I would say that, my guy Don, the Don to you. But yeah. So let me finish up my notes here from the Hard Knocks, and I'll read a couple things you guys are saying here in the chat before we get out of here. Of course, the Ravens played the Texans on Christmas. The HBO Hard Knocks episode covered that. Not too much to talk about from there. They didn't really show too much from the game. I will say there was that play where Mark Andrews had that long run, and he got hawked by the safety, I think it was, by the DB. And I just think that you can't really blame Mark Andrews for getting hawked by that DB. And, I know a lot of people are saying, like, Andrews got on the Jets there. Oh, drop the phone. Andrews got to turn on the Jets there. He's got to, basically pull away from that guy. But, like, that's a safety who probably, like, anywhere from 20 to 30 pounds lighter than Mark Andrews is. So, of course, he's going to get hawked. But what's fun enough, same guy who hawked Mark Andrews on that play, he also was the one trying to run stride for stride on Lamar Jackson on that touchdown, that Lamar had. And he just absolutely could not even get close to Lamar Jackson. Lamar pulled away from him like it was nothing. He didn't even come with 5 yards. He didn't even get in Lamar's remote personal space. He didn't. Okay. So, again, man, it's a DB down a tight end. It just is what it is. All right, let me see here. Moving right along. Oh yeah, they also covered the Bengals game against the Denver Broncos, which was a thriller, man. That was a great game to watch. I don't know if it's called one live, but I did. It was a very, very good game. The Bengals are such a feel-good franchise, to be honest with you. Right now, I mean, of course, back is up against the wall. They've been going through it all season long. Joe Burrow is having a phenomenal season, despite his team not having the best record and probably not going to the playoffs. Like I said before, they need a whole lot to happen to make the playoffs. They got to beat the Steelers. I think Miami has to lose. Denver has to lose. It's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff got to go their way in order for them to win. So let me see here. But yeah, they seem like they in that Broncos game, they seem like they had a little bit of magic. And I just think that, like, the magic right now is a little bit too little, too late. their defense has been bad for too long in this season. For their offense to really carry things the way that it has been. So better luck next year, Bengals fans. If you're a Bengals fan and you're watching this, like I said, man, better luck next year. Uh, they're not making the playoffs. Very slim chance, probably like a less than a 20% chance that they make the playoffs. I don't think they're going. They're not going. Let me see here what you guys are saying before we wrap here. Let me see. E-Money, so blessed to be a fan of Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, man, we can't take for granted what we're watching right now, what we're witnessing right now. If you would have told me back in 2017 that the Ravens would go from Joe Flacco and just kind of like all those abysmal years after the Super Bowl where we really just could not get anything going offensively, I would have told you you're crazy. We're gonna draft this kid from Louisville, this running quarterback after we've had this traditional pocket quarterback. And now Joe Flacco has some wheels now. Flacco has some wheels, especially in his younger days, man. Flacco used to get out the pocket. He used to be rolling, and Flacco's a big guy too. But of course, his legs don't hold a candle to Lamar Jackson's. And you're absolutely right, E-Money. We have to be very, very thankful and really appreciate what we're watching right now in Lamar Jackson because it's just pure excellence. Pure excellence. Spooky J in the house. What's going on, Spooky J? Appreciate you for coming through. Says, I'm not really a fan of HBO Hard Knocks. There is a severe lack of Sigma edging in that show. You gotta let me know what you mean. Spooky. Elaborate for me. Let me see. He says, I wait for T. Higgins to get out my division. Yeah, T. Higgins is a dog, man. He's a dog. T. Higgins is a wide receiver 1 on a lot of rosters. I mean, the fact that they've got Jamar Chase is I'm not gonna say that's a plus, but that is a hell of a tandem there at wide receiver for the Bengals. It's just a shame for them, not for us, but a shame for them that their defense could not get it together in a lot of spots this year, and they're in the situation that they're in right now. But let me see. I feel good about the position pesky Bengals are not in. Yes. Yeah, man. I mean, nobody really wanted to see the Bengals in the playoffs anyway, especially us AFC North fans. Steelers fans, Ravens fans, the Bengals are a dangerous team. They know you so well. And of course, Higgins, Chase, and Burrow, a hell of a trio right there. A hell of a trio. And they were going to make some noise. I truly do believe if they were able to their way to the playoffs, and they still have a chance. They still have a very outside shot, like I said, less than 20%, but they still have a chance, right? And if they were to make, I truly do feel like they could probably maybe win a game or two, something like that. Yeah, they look like they have magic right now, but it's a little bit too little, too late. Is what it is, right? Is what it is. KP, what's going on? KP says, if you were the Vikings, would you trade JJ McCarthy or let Darnold walk? I did hear reports today, and I think you mentioned a little bit earlier, KP, that they said that there's a rumor that the Vikings could be looking at trading JJ McCarthy and rocking out with Sam Darnold. Now, if it were me, Darnold's had a hell of a season. He has. Darnold is still relatively young. So I think that they're making the right move here. If the rumors are true, I would stick with Darnold. Let him continue to build his chemistry with Justin Jefferson, and go out, trade JJ McCarthy. You're going to get a high draft that kid because nobody's seen him perform yet. He got hurt, of course, in the beginning of the season. Before the season started, he didn't play. And Sam Darnold's doing it for you right now. Darnold is, top 10 in the MVP race? Probably comeback player of the year in my book, something like that. So if you can go out there and you can get you a high draft pick to go out there and further bolster this team, that's a good problem to have. They got a problem in Minnesota right now having those two quarterbacks, So I think that I would stick with Darnold and trade JJ McCarthy. Now go ahead and get that high draft pick and just make this team even more unstoppable in the NFC. I hope we play the Vikings, man. I want to play the Vikings. I want the Ravens to play the Vikings. When was the last time the Ravens played the Vikings? Now I think about it. It's been a few years. It's been a few seasons. I remember because the last time the Ravens played the Vikings, before that game, Alex and I think I went on to a Vikings fan podcast. It was the One Bar and Lupagus podcast. Shout out to those boys over there in Minnesota. I'm sure they're doing really well right now. They're happy that their team is vying for, a top spot in the NFC. So let me see. We'd have another super chat donation. This one's coming from the Don again. Thank you so much, Don. Dropping your second super chat donation of the episode here in the chat, man. I appreciate you, man. You are the GOAT. It says Sutton, you just said Cincinnati is a feel-good franchise. Did you notice the level of facilities on Hard Knocks? Cincinnati has fold-up tables. Yeah, I mean, we know that the money is not, again, thank you for your super chat donation. The money has not always been there for the Bengals. We know that. Some people say that they're a poverty franchise, poor franchise, but that's part of what makes them feel good. Like they're not the Dallas Cowboys. You know what I mean? Like they don't have a bunch of money just floating around or whatever. But like Joe Burrow on that franchise with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and even guys like Chase Brown, who got a little bit banged up in the game the other day. That's a feel good team. That's a feel good team. And Zach Taylor, the head coach, you watch him in the Hard Knocks episodes. I do his message as well. I do like his message. They've got a lot of good things going on in Cincinnati. They just need their defense to really step up and kind of be on the same caliber as their offense can be. That's where I am with the Bengals. They're a very, very good team. They're a few pieces away. They're a few pieces away. There's a reason why. Joe Burrow is still kind of key in contention for MVP. If Joe Burrow were to make the playoffs, there'd be a couple of votes for Burrow to win MVP. I promise you that. He wouldn't, because Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen have that one. They're pretty much neck and neck to go ahead and take that one for whoever it goes to. But Burrow in the playoffs, he's got a case because he's got the stats. And despite all the odds, they were to make the playoffs, it would be because of him. And Don says it here, man. I don't want to see the Cincinnati Bengals in the playoffs either. I don't either. It's never good when you play a team twice this season. You beat them twice. Third time's a charm is what they like to say, right? I think that's the saying, how it goes. I don't want to see them either. To be quite honest with you. Sean says they should have spent that fold-up table money on defensive end or an O-line. That is funny. That's funny, man. That is funny, Sean. Yeah. John got Cincinnati on. The Ravens have owned the Bengals, especially in the Lamar Jackson era. They really cannot get much going against us at all. I mean, that defense has never really been able to stop Lamar Jackson. I mean, I think they're still traumatized from that run in 2019, right? 6 years ago. It's 2025 now. It's crazy. Happy New Year again to everybody watching the stream. If you're watching the replay, Happy New Year to you. But I think that the Bengals, ever since that spin move, rushing touchdown by Lamar Jackson in 2019, they've kind of been like in purgatory. They've been very, very bad against the Ravens. They can't stop the Ravens, Okay. Let me go ahead and see. Okay, yeah, that was it for my notes. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this stream up, guys. I didn't even expect to go 40 minutes here, but here we are. Again, thank all for coming through. Thank you for the super chat donations. Thank you for engaging in the chat section, engaging in the comments. If you're watching the replay, make sure you leave your comments, questions, whatever down below in the comment section. John says here, I feel like we know what teams are trying to do on offense and defense pretty much every play. I mean, only time will tell, Sean. Only time will tell. Thank you for the thank you for the super chat donations. Don says, great stream. Appreciate you, man. We'll be back tomorrow, Thursday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Me and Alex will be talking about this upcoming game against the Cleveland Browns, closing the season, right? So with that being said, my name is Sutton Def. You can follow me on X or Instagram at Sutton Def. You guys already know the drill. Instagram at Purple Rain Podcast. And yeah, like we always say, stay positive, test negative, and never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainy days, to call God. This has been the first stream of the new year. Appreciate all y'all for coming through. And catch you guys in the next one. Peace.